I'm not like extremely open about my homosexuality. Like I'm not like I'm gay. I'm like it's part of who I am, and it's not something that like defines me that much. So I'm sort of just not that open with it. And I think if people don't know, they're sort of like,
are they
you guys
sleeping
dating?
together?
I never thought that it would get to this stage. I always thought that this was something that would like kind of whittle away and sort of like go away, just because I've never had a relationship like this. I've never had a relationship that I felt like would last, I guess. That's also partly because I've moved around so much.
And is that part of why when you were saying before
that's
about
it's part of like a defense mechanism for me, saying like, oh well, like this isn't gonna last, like whatever, this is great right now, but in 2 years, like we're not gonna see each other. after
And
university.
you would say that to her?
I would say that to her. And she would get so pissed. Yeah, and then I stopped saying it to her because I realized how much it hurt her, and I started to actually care, and it sucks.
But yes.
But yeah, it has always been one of those things where it has gone in ways, and we're right now in a way for me particularly where I feel like things are changing a lot, but that's also because I'm leaving. And I feel like they're dying down, and I'm okay with that. And I've sort of made that known to Liz, and I don't know if she's as okay with it as I am.
I'm working on things.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
things will change, but...
So it is like one of those things that's very like impermanent, but at the same time, it's one of those things that I feel like will go in a cycle and will eventually come back. So it is sort of
Then I
permanent.
might just
in a
stalk you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. So like it's impermanent in the way that like our relationship is always changing. It has changed so much in the past 4 years. But it's
4
also
years,
very
my
permanent
God.
in the
Yeah,
fact
wow.
that like it's weird. It's also very permanent in the sense that like there is that unconditional love, there is the like love of imperfection. Like I enjoy the things that Liz does that drive me absolutely insane.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a good way to answer like a potential question of yours. It was basically like, if I were to make a list titled "Things That Annoy Me About Nathan," I could easily switch that title to "Reasons Why I Love Nathan."
Liz
Yeah.
would always call me dramatic and would hate my emotions, and that she learned to love them. And like I hated the fact that she didn't have emotions. And now that she does, I hate the fact that she does.
Yeah, because you love me as a robot.
I do love you as a robot. It's something that I hated, and I have like. It is one of the things I've learned about the person.
Oh yeah, the whole like symbiotic aspect where it's kind of like I would never have felt comfortable with the idea of being this dependent on someone. Like if you had asked me 4 years ago, I would always be like, no, I need to be absolutely independent, because not just like you can't trust people, but also just because like how can you be comfortable with yourself unless you can unless you can take care of all of your own needs, you know?
Right.
And now I'm far more comfortable with being like reliant. And also just like, I don't even know what things Nathan like does for me sometimes until he's gone. And then
That's
I'm
what I
like,
was gonna say.
what the
This
fuck?
must be a hard
Why isn't
question
he here? Yeah.
to be an easier question if you knew
it's
what the
what the
absence
fuck,
was.
why isn't my house clean, my laundry done?
Not what I mean at all.
We sort of also know each other's like limits to the point where like we push those limits, but we're not about to do something that will like completely destroy the friendship because it's not worth it.
Yeah, not worth it.
And I think that's something like that we both learned from this relationship, sort of like learning how to deal with the relationship in a certain way and sort of dealing with the imperfections. It's, like this at least is something I'm still learning. Because I have a lot of trouble with this. I'm still learning how to deal with those imperfections and sort of, I don't know, figure out how they fit into the relationship
Yeah.
and how they
Learning
make
how
the
to-
relationship special.
Yeah, right? Special.
See, that's something Liz has
Wabi
always
sabi.
that's something Liz has always understood, and that's something that I'm learning from her.
Yeah.
Is that
Is that
These
these
things
things
make-
are special, and these
Yeah.
things are something that
Accepting them.
I shouldn't necessarily try to change because they are what makes our relationship this way. And
I'm starting to understand your whole like point of change though.
yeah, and I
It's a
do
show
sort of
commitment.
I do understand like the sort of I don't know, we understand each other more and more as like time goes on because we're around each other more, and because we just like it's the way that things work. So I think that like we have a pretty good understanding of how our minds work and how we like address things. I would say the thing that I've learned probably the most from you is like how to control my emotions more, in a way.
Oh.
Oh.
I've learned how to explore my emotions.
I know we
more.
both
So you
sort of
balance
talk-
each other
yeah,
out
we sort
in
of
that
balance
way.
each other out in
Yeah,
that aspect.
We're crazy.
Yeah.
You should see us fight for real sometimes. Oh my
Oh my
god.
god. Yo, I was about to punch you in the face on Thursday.
Yeah, I could feel it.
And
What
what do
was
you
the other question?
what do you get out of the relationship? Like why is it worth it?
I
Like
don't even know.
Yeah. Why
why is this? Because you guys have a very analytical
relationship.
relationship. And what's
Yeah.
what
That
makes
is-
it worth it?
That is one of those things that is like very hard to answer because like
Yeah.
we have gotten so much into each other's lives that
Yeah.
it's very hard to say what exactly we get out of it because it's just the way things are.
Yeah.
And like it is one of those things where like it is. This says this all the time, and like I never say it, but like I feel it. Like you do feel happier when you see the other person's face. Like there
Yeah.
is this sort of like, sweet, that person. Well, we joke about this. That person is mine. Like
Yeah, right?
we
That's
always
how
joke
you
about
feel.
this,
I know
right?
what you mean.
We're
for
just
you
like, you
guys.
see their face and you're like, you belong to me.
And like it is sort of like a nice calming and comforting thing knowing that you have someone in your life who's sort of
Yeah.
there for you and who's sort of like I don't know yours.
Yeah. Right.
I've also adopted a lot of the things like Liz is the one who used to say, I'm somewhat afraid of affection.
Yeah. He is.
Yeah. And I think that Liz has made me way more comfortable with that. And I think that, like, I would never, 4 years ago, if someone had been like, oh yeah, like, you're mine, I would never have done that. I would not be okay with that. And, like, the closeness that we have, I would not have been comfortable with until now. And I think that has a lot to do with Liz and, like, what I've gained from the relationship. I don't think our relationship would be where it is right now if Liz was not a robot. Our relationship would not happen if Liz was not a robot.
Because I was a mystery to you. And you were a mystery to me. And then we discovered each
I
other.
don't know if you were that much of a mystery.
Whoa, calm down. You can't read binary.
01001?
Oh,
Yeah.
challenge accepted.
So like when Liz doesn't listen to me, I'm constantly like, oh 00100, and she's like, oh yes, of course, I'll go do the dishes. I'm like, oh my god, what a pain in my ass.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Liz also does challenge me to be better. As much as like I challenge her to be better, Liz doesn't do it as directly as I do. I'm like flat out like, you need to do this and this because this
Yeah,
sucks,
list
this
of
sucks.
things. You need to
Like,
not do this anymore,
yeah.
not do that anymore,
Yeah,
not do this anymore. And I'm
Liz-
just sitting there like, oh my god, dude, can we just be friends again? Like,
Liz challenges me in the fact that she doesn't follow my list. That she is like unwilling to change in a lot of
yeah.
things. And therefore I have to.
Yeah.
So I think like we both challenge each other's like imperfections and sort of I don't know,
They
what
become
makes us
new
good.
imperfections.
Always newer imperfections.
Yeah.
There will never be a period of time where we
And
don't
aren't they
have.
perfect altogether, though? They're fairly like...
They work.
Yeah.
It's a system that works.